I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, like from everything I can tell, just following it from afar, it seems like the level of wrestling in North Florida has only gotten better. I was just talking to Coach Reap about this maybe like a week or two ago. Like I think pretty much every school in Clay County now has had a state finalist, except maybe Middlebury.
Today on the North Florida Wrestling Show, our very first episode back, having guests, I have a former rival and at time teammates and now friend, three-time state placer and an NHSCA national champion, I believe, correct?
Yeah, no, 2007.
Yeah, so big year that year.
Yep. Never
Yeah,
got a state title though.
that's all right, man. There's more to life.
Well,
So, what have you been up? What have you been up to, man?
not much, man. Living in Charlotte, North Carolina now. Working at a law firm up here after I graduated law school at the University of Virginia, and just enjoying life.
All right, so I get a chance to kind of explore everything because I know you and I first kind of met when we clashed at the regionals and then again at state our sophomore year. But how did you get into wrestling? You were a pretty good wrestler by that point, so it seemed like you've had a couple years under your belt. How did you get started?
Yeah, so I actually started, I think it was like around fifth grade. So Larry Carnes, still one of my best friends to this day, was like big involved in youth wrestling. We played Little League Baseball together. His dad and him drugged me to a practice at Clay, and I was basically hooked. I was not very good for the first few years. Lost a lot of matches, and actually Rob Bodendistel, who's assistant coach at Clay, told me one time, I think I was like in seventh grade, that I needed to stop losing so much because I was wasting my dad's money every weekend, actually. So that was motivation, I guess, to get better.
Rob did have a way with words, didn't he?
He did.
Well,
Still
I mean, so
does.
t well, I mean, so talk to me about that. Talk to me about that journey of you going from, because I mean, Clay obviously is a great program. You know, they have great wrestlers year in, year out. You know, how was it growing up in that program, and then when did that you know or that switch flip for you?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in the program, it used to actually be a lot of like the youth program used to be held out of Orange Park High School. Rob Bodendistel was up there, and I think I actually started out maybe there for a year, and then it kind of moved over to Clay, um, maybe after I've been practicing for a few months or so. And honestly, I just loved it. Like I was a kid who didn't really have a whole lot of structure growing up. Grew up in a really small town called Clay Hill. Uh, Kind of broken home situation. Didn't really know my biological father, and wrestling was just honestly something that kept me busy and out of trouble in a lot of ways. And I was fortunate to have coaches like Rob Bodendistel, Von Swallow, at the youth level that really invested a lot of time in me, even though I was losing a lot. Probably I think I lost in my first like 30 or 40 matches before I finally won one. I wouldn't say any flips switched really until high school. Like I was getting better, but I definitely think like the biggest jump I made was like between my sophomore and junior year of high school, really. And that was just kind of continually things just kept building on, skill, practice, repetition, just constantly getting better 1% at a time, and working out with Corey Bodendistel every single day as a sophomore and going into my junior year too, just kind of really helped out a lot. I think that was probably the biggest jump was that year. I don't know if there's anything that necessarily flipped in my mind. It was just I realized I could hang with some of the better guys and started beating them. I think I got like one upset finally against some like I think it was Elias Ray actually. Like he just won a state title. Actually, our sophomore year, the same weight you and I were at. I think I beat him at like freestyle and Greco state, and that was when I kind of realized, oh, like I can actually hang with a lot of these dudes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never shied away from a challenge either. Like you were always, I mean, even your junior year, like you could have. I think you could have went 25. I think you were at night. You went 19 that year. Same like Scotty was there. What actually? So I was curious. So now that I got you on it, what was that? What made you make that decision of like, all right, I'm gonna go 19. I'm gonna try to challenge, one of the guys that is considered the best in the state, and Scotty Sentes, rather than just having an easier cut and going 25.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my junior year, I really wasn't cutting much weight at all. I think naturally I was like 123, 124. So it was just a good weight for me. There was talk about me going 125 because we had a kid named Jesse Velasco, who was a pretty solid guy that at the start, he was one grade above me, so he would have been a senior that year. Um, he didn't wrestle, but he started talking about coming back out for the team in January, and we had Garrett Swallow at 112, me at 119. Really, I don't think we had anybody at 125 at the time. We might have had Robbie Nicholson, who was a couple time qualifier for us. So we're talking about going 125, but just never materialized because Jesse didn't come back to the team. Honestly, I wasn't looking at who was in what weight class at all. It was kind of just what was the best weight class for me at the time, and whoever was there. If you're going to win a state title, you're going to have to compete against some pretty good guys anyway. Um, so yeah, I wasn't necessarily thinking, oh, Scotty Sentez is in the way, or Tommy Bennett, Jordan Cone, Elias Ray. You know, at 25, I think there were some really good guys down at 119 that year as well. So
There
there
were some
wasn't really
solid
anything
guys.
it was just, hey, this is what I weigh. This is the best weight class for me right now. That's what I'm going to go.
All right, we'll talk about that. Talk about that senior year. Dude, your bracket, your senior year was monstrous, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of worked out that way. We had Colby Borchetta, who was a returning champ at 112. Scott, no, I think Scott Bauer was at 112 actually, but we had Clark Glass, who was returning 103-pound state champ. I think he was at 112 for most of the year, and then before the state tournament, I think he just kind of outgrew the weight, which tends to happen with younger guys as they put on weight. It gets tougher to cut. So yeah, he was at 119 as well. Brian Fisher, who was the runner-up, was a really good Greco guy. Um, the Alex Parashuk might have taken fifth that year for Riverdale, and he went on to win a state title and then wrestled at Stanford as well. So I mean, it ended up being a pretty tough weight on the back end. Like when you looked at what some of those guys accomplished in their careers, obviously Clark Glass winning 5 state titles total. Borchetta, that was his second state title. I think that was the only time Bryant got on the podium, but he was a really tough dude that had been around for a long time. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a fun bracket to go through for sure.
So what about your what about the national championship? That national championship that you won in between your junior and senior year, right?
Yeah, I actually wasn't even planning on competing in that tournament. And I got talked into it by Von Swallow because we were kind of gearing. I was kind of gearing up for freestyle and Greco at that time. It was in the summer, so it wasn't like the NHSA freshman, sophomore, junior nationals. It was their open tournament that I don't even know if they still hold anymore, actually. But they held an open tournament. I think it was in Myrtle Beach that year. Um, so Garrett was going. They were going with some of the Gainesville high school crew. Rylan Wagner and them, and basically got talked into going on the trip with them. I was in shape, I was training, and probably wrestled the best I had my entire life, honestly, at that tournament. I didn't give up a takedown the whole tournament. Um, I think going into the semifinals, I had majored or teched everybody, which was kind of, unexpected. I wasn't seated at all in the bracket or anything. And when I got to that point, I just kind of felt like I was wrestling really well, had a shot at winning it, and it worked out.
I mean, dude, whenever you're on fire, man, you were definitely hard to deal with. I was upset we never got a third one, but like you're just always so solid on your feet. I always remember the nose thing that
Yeah,
you
I
used to
used
do
to do
too.
that. I got
You
made
know
fun
what I
of so
mean?
much for that.
It was just your little tick, man. You'd be like out there
Yeah, I had a
like,
nervous tick where I did that. I wasn't even aware of it at the time.
dude, it was dude, everybody's got that. Everybody's got their little thing that they do. So I like that's just for some reason that, and then Coach Laxton, whenever he would say your name, he would purposely say it wrong. You'd like Joseph Stevens. It's just like I'm pretty sure you know who he is, but like
He
he
still
just
does that when
refused.
he sees me, man. He calls me, "Hey, Joe Stevens, how's it going?"
Yeah,
Just
he refuses to call you by your right name. Like
that's
it's a
fine.
power. That's what he does, man. It's a power
Yeah.
move, I think. So what have you been up to since then? Like, I know that you went to the academy, yeah?
Yeah, I went to the Air Force Academy, wrestled there. College wrestling did not go as I had planned. Ended up tearing my shoulder twice, having 2 season-ending surgeries in January of both my sophomore and junior year. And at that point, I was kind of worried about even being able to commission into the Air Force if I were to tear it a third time and be able to pass my graduation physical. So my senior year, I was basically just a glorified manager on the team. But yeah, the academy was by far the best decision I made in my entire life prior to asking my wife to marry me. I would say just completely changed the trajectory for me.
Don't talk to me about academy life.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not for everyone. It's pretty structured and rigorous, I would say, which is something I still needed at that time. I was not somebody who would have done well with a lot of free time in my life, so you get there as a freshman, um, or dually, as they call you, you're your 4 degree freshman year. Um, basic cadet training starts in like June, and you go through like 6 week of basic cadet training. The academic year starts in early August, and it's pretty structured. So we would have classes as an athlete. You would have classes pretty much all throughout the morning from like 7 to noon, and then at noon you would have a noon meal formation. Go to lunch. You might have military uh, like classes for about an hour in the afternoon, and that would get you to about 1:30, 2 o'clock. Then you'd probably have maybe 35, 40 minutes to get some homework knocked out before having to get down to the athletic facilities for practice. And practice, would start typically somewhere around 3:30 and go until 6:30. Shower, go back up the hill to the dining facility called Mitchell Hall, have dinner. Luckily, as an athlete, like I was having lunches and dinners with other members of the wrestling team as a freshman, which makes it significantly easier, I would say, or better anyway, a better experience. Finish up dinner around 7:15, go back to your dorm room, and then it's homework for 3 to 4 hours until lights out at 11. And you kind of get up the next day and repeat it. And it gets easier as you go on. Like freshman year is probably the most difficult from just a pure like time management scenario and just how exhausted you are because during the day as a freshman you're not allowed to have like your door closed in your dorm. Your room has to be made a certain way every single day, like to the highest standards, and not necessarily like the most fun experience in the world, but definitely I think rewarding in a lot of ways. Sophomore year, academics pick up because you're taking 22 credit hours a semester potentially. They basically cram 5 years of schooling into 4 to make sure everybody gets a Bachelor of Science degree. But it was a great experience. Got to do things that I never would have gotten to do at a civilian college. Jumped out of an airplane after the end of my freshman year doing 5 totally free fall solo parachute jumps. My going into my senior year at the academy, we took 12 World War II veterans to Normandy for the anniversary of D-Day for 3 weeks, and that was just a completely humbling experience to hear from these guys. What they were going through. We had some guys that were part of the Bloody 100 bomb group, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with that, but if you've seen Masters of the Air on Apple Plus, like they had a very high casualty rate during World War II. Basically, they had to complete 25 bombing missions, and if they completed all 25, they got to go home. But for like a year plus in, nobody completed 25 missions. Pretty much everybody was getting shot down. So the 8th Air Force alone during World War II had more casualties than the entire Marine Corps, and most people don't know that. So we had one pilot that was on that trip with us. Name was John Lucky Luckadoo, and you asked him about like how do you go up every day knowing you're probably not going to make it back. Is basically like, well, you just don't think about it. You had a job to do, you had a mission, you get back, see who made it back, go to the bar, have a few drinks, wake up the next day and hope you don't have another mission. And if you did, then you just kind of were on autopilot and did what you had to do. So it definitely puts things in perspective when you hear those stories from those guys. And that's like an experience that's going to stay with me the rest of my life.
What's the what do you say the name of the series was called on Apple Plus?
Masters of the Air.
Yeah, I might have to watch that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's made by the same people that made Band of Brothers in the Pacific.
Yeah, I've seen Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
All right, so after that, after you graduate from Air Force Academy, where's that take you?
Yeah, so I got stationed down in San Antonio, Texas at Joint Base Randolph, or Joint Base San Antonio Randolph, and I was supposed to be an RPA pilot. So flying drones essentially. I didn't have the vision to be a regular pilot, but somehow I was able to do that. And the first part of that training is actually in a manned aircraft, so you still have to go through like the initial flight screening phase with like all the regular pilots. So I went back to Colorado Springs for it's supposed to be like about 2 months or so, a little over a month, between a month and 2 months. While there on one of my flights, I was coming in to land the plane and I got an ocular migraine. Basically, I got a blind spot and I couldn't see like half the runway, half my gauges. Still landed the plane, thank God. Told the instructor pilot, "Hey, like this happened. I need to go get checked out." Um, I didn't know that's what it was, and basically that was like an automatic DQ from operating any aircraft, like remote or otherwise. Got reclassified as a contracting officer and got stationed up in Washington D.C. area, which was a pretty cool experience. Like I'd never lived in a big city like that. Didn't really enjoy being a contracting officer. A lot of like just sitting at your desk. You're basically negotiating and awarding contracts on behalf of the Air Force. It's not really what I went to the academy to do or what I wanted to do, but tried to make the best of it. Knocked out a master's degree while I was stationed in DC and deployed to the Horn of Africa for 7 months in Djibouti. That was
Oh,
pretty
for
cool.
real?
Yeah, like that
That
was a good
sounds pretty good.
experience. Yeah, because it was interesting. Like we were doing like a mixture of both like nation building with the State Department, and then also supporting like Air Force Special Operations Command, who was launching, funnily enough, like RPA missions out of there as well. So it was kind of cool to do both like, more civilian development, nation building for the country of Djibouti with the State Department, and then on the other side, like, what the actual Air Force mission is as well, I would say. So that was a good experience. Did that for 7 months, got back, and then got stationed down in Montgomery, Alabama, where I was an officer training school instructor for 2 years. While down there, made the decision that I didn't really want to do contracting forever. It wasn't something I saw myself doing in the Air Force long term. So applied to cross over to be a Air Force JAG. Didn't get approved. Decided to separate and go to law school as a civilian.
Okay, so you're out.
Yeah, I separated in 2019.
Oh, cool, man. So you've been at
Yeah,
how's civilian life been for you?
it's been good. Yeah, I mean, it was weird. Like I went to the University of Virginia for law school, and there was a big age, not a huge age gap with everybody, but I was definitely on the older side of students, and there were some other veterans there as well, and some other like people who were in their second career. So I wasn't like the only old guy. But I remember like my 2 or 3 weeks into law school, I turned 30. The same day a girl in my section turned 21, and it was like we were just at very different stages in our lives right now.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny, but I found law school to be a lot easier than the academy. So I enjoyed it. It's probably the most free time I've ever had in my life and ever will have. So I really enjoyed those 3 years. And after graduating, I went and clerked for two federal judges before I ended up at the firm I'm at now.
Okay, because I knew that I knew that you were a lawyer. I knew I wasn't crazy on that, but I didn't know you had separated from the Air Force. All right, man, awesome. And now you got a baby girl, I hear.
Yeah, yeah. She's 2.5 years old, and
You're a girl
we're
dad.
training right now. So it's a lot of fun.
How's it being a girl dad? You excited about it?
Yeah, I love it. She's great. I think I'm probably a lot more patient, because she's a girl than I would be if she was a boy, which is probably not a good thing to say, but it's also probably the truth. So yeah.
She can be a little wrestler in the making right there.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, obviously girls wrestling has grown so much. Like I'd love to get her involved in it, but I'm also not gonna necessarily try to push her in anything she doesn't want to do either. So
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like my oldest is he's really good at it, but I'm not sure if he's gonna wrestle in high school. We'll see. It is what it is. But when are you gonna come back down to Florida and coach a team? Are you coaching up there right now?
yeah, no, I'm not coaching at all right now. As far as coming back to Florida, probably won't happen, unfortunately. I'd love to. I'd love to end up back in Clay County, in all honesty, but we like it up here in Charlotte. The firm I'm at's been really good. Yeah, things could change in the future, but right now there's really no plans to move back down that way, unfortunately.
How close you
And I'm
follow the
partially a fan
wrestling
of
scene?
Florida, and my wife was not a fan. So
How closely you follow the wrestling scene?
how close do I follow what?
The wrestling scene.
I still follow it pretty closely. Yeah, um, definitely more of a fan than anything at this point.
Yeah, yes. I'm sure you could still go.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Come on, man. Come on, me and you. One more. We gotta settle it.
I don't know, man. You've been like up there at Iowa City training and in Mizzou, and
I know, dude.
you
I'm
have a
breaking all the.
lot of. I got to get back
I
in
had.
shape.
I know how to break the brand's heart. They were trying to. They were like, "Hey, you were 44 pounder," and I was like, "No, man. I'm out of eligibility. I think." No, their facilities, oh, it was crazy. I got to use the recovery stuff. I was just sitting there. I'm like, man, if I had known D1 life was this good, I'd have kept my grades up senior year. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Nah, it
I
is what
also
it
think
is,
that's
man.
an anomaly in terms of what that the resources that program has compared to others. So
Oh God, dude, it was ridiculous. It was pretty cool though. But dude, it was great catching up with you. Did you have, well, actually, before we go on this one, it doesn't surprise me that you're doing great because you have always just, like I said, it seemed like you always wanted the hardest challenge possible whenever like we're at wrestling. Like you always ended up in the hardest weight classes and brackets. and it always seemed by like decision. So one, I'm like I said, not surprised that your success, and two, I wanted to thank you too because there was a time in my life about 10 years ago I was going through just a bunch of bad choices of like on my own, a lot of it on my own, and you were one of the very few people to reach out and just be like, hey, you're being a little bit crazy, and you should probably like not be crazy. Like, yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but I told you in text, but it just like as close to person as we can. Dude, thank you. That's something that I really needed. And if you hear a person of your friends go, or a friend of yours is going through something, reach out. Don't just passively watch there. You know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, no, of course, man. Like, yeah, like we go way back, obviously, and I'm just glad you're doing so well now.
Oh man, I try, man. But it came from somebody helping me get through a day is what it did. So I do appreciate that, man. Well, do you have anything to say to the North Florida community before you send it off?
I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, like from everything I can tell, just following it from afar, it seems like the level of wrestling in North Florida has only gotten better. I was just talking to Coach Reap about this maybe like a week or two ago. Like I think pretty much every school in Clay County now has had a state finalist, except maybe Middleburg and Oakleaf. Um, and even then, they've had quite a few guys like placed in the top three over the last few years. And that's just in Clay County alone. Jacksonville, you know, Bowles always seems to have a couple of good guys. They just had a guy that took third who's been training out of the Clay Club for a long time. Lance Days over in Ponte Vedra, I think, at Beachside High School. Obviously, Live Oak Sewanee doing all the Panhandle's gotten better. It's been amazing to just kind of see the level of competition continue to improve. It's just kind of I think it's a great time to get involved in wrestling as much as you can in that area, and it's good to see.
All right, man. Well, we
Appreciate guys like
appreciate
you
you.
coaching. So
Do what?
I appreciate guys like you giving back and coaching. It's really awesome to see.
Oh man, dude, these kids are killing my body though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I tell them a machine,
It's
but
my back. So
dude, I know, dude, the back happens. But man, we appreciate you. We'll have you on again with a couple.